Oh,
those together?
and
Oh,
we're
we're
live.
live. Okay.
We're live. Anyways, we'll get back to that off the air.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're live. All right. So today has
Tell me
been
about your day, Rob.
yeah, what are we, 11 minutes late? I was trying to schedule this, but if you don't know, today is Red Cup Rebellion Day, which is a fun day for the union movement, which I think there were 200 stores nationwide, Starbucks stores, who went on strike. It was fun if you played along at home and followed the social media stuff. Um, and usually, I gotta say, let's start with my apology. I give a hard time to SAG-AFTRA, the Teamsters, the, uh, you know what, Writers Guild. I'm gonna hold you to the grindstone. Where were you? Writing us
Yeah.
good picket line signs. But SAG-AFTRA came out to my event today. I did a live stream on it. The Teamsters didn't deliver to the Star. So if you don't know, Starbucks gets a delivery, usually one at night and then one early in the morning, like right as they open. And they were showing pictures of the Teamsters pulling up the trucks, taking a photo, and leaving. So there were a lot of stores that even the truck drivers weren't going to cross the picket line, which is fantastic. Because if you want to look it up, it's sbworkersunited.org. You can see the contract we're fighting for. You can see a bunch of different stuff on there, like, how to start a union, which is great, what we're fighting for when we organize, how Starbucks has not come to the table, all these different things. So if you do want to get more informed, like my daughter, the oldest, was saying, so what does a union do again? How does this help you? And I was going, oh, Jesus. And she was like, I know, I should know. So if you do want to read more into it, because let's face it, the hot labor summer turned into a hot labor fall. The strikes aren't letting up. And I'm in my union chat, which has been just lit up all day, which is amazing because it's
Woohoo.
people across America who are part of this bigger movement. And just so I can summarize too, because our big boss, who was out at the event I was at Salem, where we were just flyering and giving information to the public and talking to people. Although I was on a live stream the whole time, I felt kind of bad. They position unions as this very boogeyman type thing. And at my shop, which I was not working today, they sent in, the big bosses to come and make sure nothing was going haywire. There were no rabble rousers. And it's funny because the way they said it, they said, we heard the union was coming, which if you're not educated to it, you think, oh my God, they're coming here? What are they going to do? And like I had to tell some of the younger kids, I said, we're the union.
Yeah.
We voted. We uh, overwhelmingly won the election. So that means hence what I like to show people is workers united. So we are workers who are united to form a union. But the way corporate America wants to position it is as it's something that comes in and tells you what to do and takes your
It
money.
it sounds like do you remember the never ending story? It
Of
sounds
course.
like the nothing. Remember
Yes.
the nothing? That's what that is.
That's
The union.
the whole never ending story, bad guy premise of the nothing is exactly how every manager in the world explains the union. And it's not, just so everybody's well aware, it's me. Although I am the big bad
It's
nothing.
not just you, let's be real.
On this podcast, it's just me.
Oh,
But
no, it's
there,
just you.
there are a lot of other people that I'm not going to go into mentioning names. But of course, we had to win an election. You have to have an election. So there is a bunch of us. But for the sake of explaining it, it's me as a worker uniting with other workers, and that's it. So I
Yeah.
thought it was hilarious that they said the union was coming in. I was like, are they unaware that we're here every single day? Like we are that scary boogeyman that's coming in to what? Hold us hostage? What are we going to do to ourselves? Fight for better wages? Jesus.
So what
So,
happened today, Rob?
so we went to a Salem Starbucks that is non-unionized. And those poor kids. One of the activists in the community went there the day before to just give them the heads up. Because listen, on days like today, especially now that we're out from the underground and we're well known, that we want to unionize and that we are going to fight for our rights and fight for better conditions to work in. Um, they send in the worst of the worst. I mean, people who, just to give you an example, the district manager that was there today to kind of, crack the whip and make sure no one
Hmm.
stepped out of line. He was the guy that when I wore this shirt, which is federally protected for me to wear to work, okay? By
Okay.
law, the NLRB, this is in American law books, I can wear union
Stuff.
paraphernalia,
Yeah.
pins, shirts,
Let's just say apparel.
yeah, apparel and the such. If I had socks, I could wear 'em. And I wore them. I got sent home, and they said Starbucks has policies. And I said, well, America has laws, and this is illegal to send me home for wearing a union shirt. And he said, well, inside Starbucks, the policies are kind of like laws. And I said, and do they trump American laws? And he said, well, they're kind of our own laws. And I said, so you're still sending me home breaking American law? And he said, yeah. And I said, that's so fascinating. So if it was Starbucks policy that we could just keep customers' change, even though that's theft, could we just do that? And they don't like to answer those questions. And I get sent merrily on my way. But that's the monster that I get to deal with, who thinks inside Starbucks it's a sovereign nation and he has diplomatic immunity from all of America's laws.
It's been revoked.
So this is the guy who they sent down. So everybody inside the Starbucks, I think, was terrified that this manager was going to, implement some kind of Starbucks law where he would, I don't know, lock people in the bath. Who knows? Send people home, and they're terrified. Nobody wants to lose their job, though you
Right.
shouldn't. For you know, it's a federally protected thing to organize and create a union. It's
Yeah.
very American. Um,
So you got there, and how many people were there?
like 8, I think, total.
What was it at its climax? Huh?
So
8 the
no,
whole
no,
time?
no, because we were just hitting people that were leaving the drive-through, walking in, and that's where I kind of felt bad because we had a SAG-AFTRA guy there, a city councilor, labor union activist. Oh my God, I forget. So I might forget some people, but they were all like very official union pro worker type.
Anybody you want to shout out specifically?
No, no.
Okay.
But all the labor leaders, let's just call them the labor leaders.
Labor leaders. Got it.
So
Okay.
they were, and this is why I really feel bad because I was doing a live stream just kind of ranting about how it's a federally protected thing. And I really wanted that district manager to come out because I had Rick Astley queued up on my iPod. I was just ready to play it for him, saying, I'm
Never
never
gonna
going
let
to
you
give
where
you up.
you are. Never gonna
And
let you down.
I
Ah,
stayed on that. Well, they talked to, 10, 20, 30. I don't know how many people. You'll hear me on the live stream, hooting here and giving the solidarity thing.
yeah.
And then as soon as I ended the live stream, I was like, I am so sorry, guys. I was doing that the whole time. But they handed out a bunch of flyers, so I couldn't tell you how many people. There was definitely not like a crowd of protests. We had no picket line. Again, this was a non-unionized shop, but it was just getting people um, to take an action, which we wanted them to call the manager or the district manager and say, hey, you need to, respect the workers. And just kind of really it's about education. So many people, even people who are well intentioned, maybe don't understand really what's going on. And then you get a ton of people, like every time I read in the comments, that say it's coffee, how hard could it be, fire them. Where it's
Yeah.
like you're missing the point. The
Yeah.
whole point of this is it's not about a skilled trade, it's about working 40 hours a week and being able to afford rent,
You know
eat
this
food.
was on the national news today, right?
Oh no, hold on. What the? I got to take my
What?
watch off. Siri's like,
Eh.
I don't even know what Siri's doing. She's like, I can look stuff up for you. I'm like, oh, I get it. You're listening to me.
Well,
Okay,
don't say her name.
Steve Apple. Oh yeah, yeah. Did I don't have her turned on. That's the problem I have with this. That
Eh.
Siri will start telling me. So I never opt to use Siri. In fact, if I could like tape over my camera when I'm not live streaming, I would. They should have a little slide down thing where you could shut that off. If you ever seen the Edward Snowden movie, Citizen 4, it's
Is that the
terrifying.
Ashton Kutcher? No, wait. Who
No,
is that?
not the Robin, the kid who played Robin, I forget his name, in Batman,
Chris
in Dark
O'Donnell?
Knight.
Oh, yes, I know what you're talking about.
Third Rock from the Sun
Third
kid,
Rock from the Sun. Yeah.
Joseph
Inception.
Gordon-Levitt.
There you go.
It's not the movie with him where he flips the Rubik's cube to sneak out the data. It's the true life documentary with
Oh.
Edward Snowden.
Oh, okay.
So that's like it's really just him going through the process of whistleblowing, and the stuff he says and the way he like covers himself with a sheet to type in his passwords, you really
Hmm.
start to understand maybe paranoia is real. Maybe it's not over exaggerated. Maybe they are listening right now.
As your genius friend Kurt Cobain once said, just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not after you.
Thank you. And he was a
Um,
genius.
as you have said a time or two. What was
Real
I going to
quick,
ask you?
before I wanted to say something,
Oh,
because the huge news this week, and we're going to get into it a little bit, is we're pushing for the 4-day work week. If you saw Ample Thoughts um, short this week, he tagged it, showed the news story, and mentioned it. But I want to go in depth because, again, people are arguing apples to oranges in the whole like you make coffee, you shouldn't be paid enough to eat food. Uh, it's not about that. It's about like we're in a time where we have enough food for everyone in the world to eat. And because it's not profitable for everyone to eat, people starve every night. There's 9 million children in America that go hungry every night. Same with the 4-day work week. It's not about, oh, you got to just pull up your bootstraps and work harder and then you can survive. It's like, no, we have the technology. The statistics prove this. People are more, and we'll get into it a little bit, but it's not a debate about what is it, a meritocracy, like whether you've earned it or not. It's just not. It's a debate about where we are as a civilization.
right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm sorry. So we're going to talk about that because it's happening here in Massachusetts. We're going to pave the way for America, and I'm going to do everything I can to lobby for that or be an act organized for it, whatever I can do to help.
So, let me say one thing before you get into the 4-day work week thing any more than you already have. So, I went to the dentist today, and in the elevator, you know how sometimes they have a little infographic thing or whatever.
Yeah.
Uh, it's excused by something about politics or something, and then it says Starbucks workers have Red Cup Day. Um, and I think it said 27 major cities in the U.S. had this Red Cup Day, and there was a presence there. So, what have you heard about involvement today with it? Before we move on,
Again, I don't know all the number. I've been following up through social media and the different group chats. I just know that over 200 stores were striking. Um,
there you go.
Red Cup Day is again, it's another made up holiday that Starbucks wants to kick off their holiday season with. It's so effing crazy how like America's just always chomping at the bit for some made up holiday where you can get a coupon, a discount. In Massachusetts, we have a tax-free weekend around Labor Day. We have Red Cup Day for Starbucks, which is national. You come into Starbucks, get buy a holiday drink, you get a free reusable cup, which I always say, if you want people to bring in a reusable cup, give them more than 10 cents off. That's all you get at Starbucks, 10 cents off. Every customer that comes,
Good
I
to
go,
know.
wouldn't good to, who cares, 10 cents? I'm like, the drink's $7. Is 10 cents really making you bring in a cup? I don't want to cuss a lot, but it's so infuriating because let's say on a $3 cup of coffee, a small coffee that's basically bean water that we just throw away.
It's all bean water. I don't know if you know this. It's all
That's
bean water.
that's true. On the small cup of hot bean water that they serve for $3, okay? You'd be shocked to see how much we dump out because Starbucks is like a rule with most fast food. If you ever work there, it's like after a certain amount of time, you just get rid of it. You just throw it away. So Starbucks, I think it's like on the half hour or 15 minutes, they're just dumping coffee out. So we could literally, if you came in on that mark and we were about to dump it out, we would just give it all away. I don't,
Let me ask you a totally different question. In many places in the Midwest, Starbucks will collect their used grinds and put them in a bag, and people can pick it up for free for like their garden fertilizer or
yeah,
whatever.
the compost
Do you
stuff.
guys do that?
We just started doing it again, and I
Oh,
really
good.
pushed for this. It's just like so at Starbucks, they don't recycle. Yeah, I know you could go to their website and it says, "Hey, we have green initiatives, and um, where we did away with strawless or strawed lids, and we have strawless lids. That's what they call them. But they still put straws out, and the lids still fit straws. So this doctor came in the other day, and she was like, "I hate the waste. I don't want to use a straw." She was just talking about me about this stuff. And I said, do you understand? Like, Starbucks presents himself as this green company, but is Howard Schultz coming down here to make sure we recycle? Do you
No,
think the management gives us time to put the blue recycle bags in and make sure people are separated? They don't care. They don't enforce it. So in my store, I've kind of put the onus. Like one day, she said, my manager was like, "Put out straws," and I was like, "Okay, the turtle killers, I'll bring out the sea turtle killers." And there's one guy in the lobby who's like, "That's a myth," and I was like, "Have you not
no,
seen
it
the
ain't.
photo?" No, trust me. He started arguing with me, and again, the town I'm in is hoity-toity. It's very upper class, so I can't argue with him. I'm like, listen, I seen the photo, and I don't care if it's 100 or one sea turtle that the straw is in its nose. That's too many for me.
Yeah.
Especially you don't need a straw. I'll show people the box. It says strawless lids. I'm like, stop getting the straws. So I just try to not put them out. Same with I try to guilt my manager into recycling. I know that's crazy, but
But you're part of the system, man. You got to do what you're told. You understand me?
well, that's the thing. What allegedly they say is that we recycle, that we do all this green stuff, that we use less, whatever the key words are, the viral words at the moment, all the hashtag trending words, but none of it's happening. The frontline workers have to do that. The people like me have to make sure we're recycling. And when I push for it, they're like, we don't have time for that. Just make people's drinks and get on with it. We need profits. We don't care about the earth. So it's just become this like um, agonizing position to be in where people have this perception of like, oh, it's a good company, it's a green company, it's a this company. And you're like, why do you think the workers are fighting for something better? Because we'd like to live up to those standards, but let's be honest, the management doesn't care. They get fat paychecks. The shareholders get
I
their
was just going to say, but they're shareholders, Rob. So you have to understand the position that they're in.
yeah. What
The
position are
poor
they in? Let's
guys.
play it out. Let's play it out because the shareholders were promised 20 billion in stock buybacks, which means
Holy
they get the
God.
money over 3 years. Howard Schultz came out and said, we want to make sure the shareholders are getting theirs, 20 billion over the next 3 years. So again, they don't care about recycling. In fact, there was a story, I sent it to you. Let me read the title of this. It comes from Reporter Brazil. Hold on, I gotta scroll to the top because this is hilarious, and I've been saying this for a year. Starbucks. Here's the title, reporterbrazil.org. You can look it up. Starbucks, slave and child labor found at certified coffee farms in Minas Gerais. I probably butchered that name.
You
Um,
did.
thank you. Did you read this article?
Yeah.
Did you understand so they say these farms in Brazil, I think there's some in Asia, um,
Africa.
Africa. Yep. So these farms
Asia as well. Jakarta too.
so all over the world, these coffee farms, and they get a certified seal of Starbucks approval. And in
Right.
the article, they talk about it. It's called the cafe model. Okay. Now I
Hmm.
understand people reading this might not understand that and why that's a big deal. What that means. Cafe stands for coffee and farmer equity. And when you get hired at Starbucks, there's a whole indoctrination uh, process where you have to watch video after video and take these little quizzes about how fair and equitable they are and how they treat people the best. And they do all
Mm.
this for hours. I mean, this is hours of training that you go through. And I think a lot of people don't question it. And I think a lot of people are like, how honorable. And for me, immediately, I was like, well, you don't pay us a lot. I can't imagine what another country is getting. But then it kind of goes back to the old argument of like, who polices the police? Do the police get to police the police? Because I would say, that's a conflict of interest.
So, what do you say, Rob, to the people who say, you know what, you can leave? You know what,
Trust me.
Rob? If you don't like it, you can leave. So, what's your answer to that?
My answer is, what do you think I'm doing right now?
Not leaving.
Of course, but what do you think my agenda is? It's just like with organizing. This is the most hilarious part to me. I go, what do you think I'm bringing up? Do you think I'm starting trouble? Do you think I'm saying it's horrible? Do you think, because the people who hear the way I speak and they go, oh, well, why don't you just get out of here then? It's the same people who go, you're going to critique America? Why don't you get out of this country? And I go,
No, 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 no. Let's say it's a super lefty, okay? But
yeah.
that super lefty is still saying, you know what? Unless you're going to become a manager and then manager's manager and then an executive at some point, an exact change in the way that you want to, Rob, shut up for the time being. Be a good cog in the wheel or leave. What do you say to those people?
I say,
Super lefty.
yeah. And I say, I'm the spark that makes you think differently. Because you can tell me to leave all day, but you have to go home. Like, you can't unhear what I've just said. And that's my whole thing. I tell people all the time, I said, I'm planting a little baby seed in your brain. And once you hear that, like that guy who I argued with the sea turtle about, he could think
Hmm.
all day long about how right he is and how no sea turtles have died or whatever he was claiming. But he's going to think about that one sea turtle with the straw way deep down in his nose. And I told him all about the video. I don't know if you've seen it, where it's so
Stop.
gross
Yes.
because they
Yes.
pull this whole straw and it goes out like, and you're like, how long was that straw? What was that? A silly straw? What was that in that thing's nose? Because it was like a foot long. But he's
Yeah.
going to think about that at some point. Maybe not tonight. Maybe not tomorrow. Maybe 10 years from now. But it's going to haunt him.
So your answer to the super libbies is, hey, yeah, I'm working there and I'm trying on my end in my union capacity or trying to organize union capacity to exact permanent change in a way that's going to be beneficial for more people than just me. That's your answer, roughly?
That was a little complex, but um,
Give me a better one.
I'm planting seeds. That's my answer.
What
Just
are you,
like this.
Jesus?
Jesus didn't plant seeds. He was a
No,
revolutionary.
he casts it. You know what? I'm not going to
Oh
get
yeah,
into it
yeah. He
anyway.
was a fisher of men. Fisher of men.
Yeah,
But
planting of seeds. But yeah,
listen,
anyway.
I'm trying to be a little Jesus, right? That's what
Jesus.
a little Jesus.
Wait, give people a little taste of your tale there, just so
I
that
had
they
it. No,
know.
I had to tuck it in because once it
Oh,
comes
okay,
in,
all right.
it's
I
got
thought
like
that they
a
would
life of its own.
appreciate the Jesus hair,
Oh,
or at least Rob Zombie hair, to go with your planting of seeds.
well, to be honest, I wear slippers everywhere this time of year. I got the
Sandals. You couldn't even get that right. It's sandals.
yeah, but I wear slippers. I can't wear sandals in New England in the winter. If I
That's a
could, I
good point.
would, you know?
That's a good point.
So they're my version. Trust me, if Jesus lived somewhere where they had a winter, it would you would have heard about slippers all the time, okay?
Moccasins, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's what I have. That's what I mean. These are like the leather, the pleather moccasins, whatever they are, the sheep things.
Fancy.
They were a
Hmm.
gift. Well, actually, so I had a pair that my mother got me for Christmas like gosh, she's been dead for 12 years. So like 15 years ago. And they started wearing the wet leather and everything started wearing through. So there were holes in it. And then like 4 years ago, my daughter and my wife chipped in and got me a nice pair.
Oh,
So
good.
now I'll wear those for another 20 years.
So
But
where do you want to go next? Where do you want to go next, Rob? You want to continue
well,
on with
okay.
the Starbucks child labor, or do you want to go to? Shall we go Acme style?
I want to talk about this Acme thing because I was talking to a SAG after guy, and it's fascinating. They're very excited they get to go back to work today. Or I don't know if technically today, but today he was saying he was going back to work. So I imagine a lot of people are finally, after 118 days on strike. What is that? 3 months? That's almost a year. I don't know how long that is. Um, but they're going back to work. So this Acme story is so fascinating. Plus, who doesn't love Wile E. Coyote?
Yeah.
Do you love the Looney Tunes?
So I'll tell you a very brief thing. So my family was in the movie business when I was a kid, and we lived very close to Magic Mountain, Six Flags Magic Mountain. So Warner Brothers earlier than I don't know about any place, but like Knott's Berry Farm had Snoopy,
Yep.
and Six Flags had Warner Brothers characters. So
Yep.
Foghorn Leghorn, Sylvester, Tweety Bird, Bugs Bunny, all of that. So one of my first memories was not only going to Six Flags and seeing these anthropomorphic characters, 15-year-old getting paid $1 an hour to, stand in the hot sun in Southern California, but um, I also watched Looney Tunes nonstop growing up. I mean, as a little kid, but then I would be able to go onto the Warner Brothers lot and actually see the water tower and be on the back lots at Warner Brothers. So yeah, I
The
was a
water
huge
tower is iconic. That's
yeah,
cool.
yeah, it's very
Do you have
cool.
any pictures of that? I would love to see. I've never seen that in real life, but I always thought that was just a drawing.
If I have any pictures, I don't know where they are, but I
Oh.
certainly have plenty of other cool things from Warner Brothers.
You know what's fascinating about Looney Tunes? And I know, or I believe, like all cartoons started out like this, but they were really the only ones to keep with this trend into the deep into the 80s, maybe even early 90s, is just having music. Just having
Mm,
music over cartoon, like Tom and Jerry,
yeah,
notorious for that. But
yeah.
if you go back and watch, because I think they're all on HBO Max now, or not
Hmm,
all, but many seasons are.
sure.
And my son's really getting into them, and he would ask me like, which ones are your favorite? And I always loved Roadrunner and Coyote, but neither of those two talked. The Roadrunner would just go meet meet, and Coyote would
Well,
hold up signs.
and the really special ones were when Wile E. Coyote would speak, and I think it was either Mel Blanc's voice or Chuck Jones's voice, who would do Wiley's voice, and then also the other episodes where it would be people talking about Wile E. Coyote and Roadrunner. A very famous one being this little kid is watching a Wile E. Coyote and he says, beep, beep, zip, tang. And he was talking to an older brother about the sound that the Roadrunner made when he would get up. He'd be like, beep, beep, zip, tang. And he'd be gone. Um, I love all that stuff. Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever heard Wile E. Coyote speak. I know what you're talking about, but I
I
cannot
bet you
recall.
have. I bet
Did
you
he
have.
have a weird voice, or did they do it like normal person?
I'm almost positive it was Chuck Jones, but he was basically, it was a deep, um, I mean, kind of 60s,
Traditional,
um,
like male, like Mad Men voice.
almost, yeah.
Was he
No,
always
no, no,
sexually
that's pretty
harassing
accurate.
the? He was always sexually harassing the Roadrunner. Nobody understood that that's why he was trying to trap it.
I was gonna say it was something like between, um, like Gary Cooper and like Vincent Price or something. It had a little bit of, not twang, but more tang
Dang.
uh, and then kind of this deep, almost
I have to. We
professorial sound to it.
don't steal this idea, but I'm gonna make a short where I go. You
I'm going to
know,
steal it.
Coyote only spoke 4 times in his whole 80-year run. Here's one of those times. That's such a short that could blow up. I'm glad we thought of that. Um,
Yeah.
they could have went with something like he could have had deplane voice, or um,
I mean, they
I
already
think.
had Speedy Gonzalez, who was
Oh yeah, that
kind
is
of doing
true.
that. So,
Oh man, I want
what
to
else you
find.
got?
I don't. Well, this is where I don't want to spend too much time coming up with it, but You know, it'd be funny is making a short where claiming this is one of only 4 times Wile E. Coyote spoke, and then me overdub it.
Oh, yeah, or we could, figure out that AI thing, we'll get into that later, but figure out
Oh
the AI voice and have, like, Donald Trump doing Speedy Gonzales, and be like, "They bring crime,
yeah,
they they're not bringing their best."
it's not
I
their
don't know.
best.
I don't
That
know.
would be
Or
hilarious.
one of my favorite voices of all time, a Christopher Walken doing Sylvester, or hell, bring it to Sesame Street. I don't know. You have Grover or Elmo with a James Earl Jones or a Christopher Walken. That'd be awesome.
So, you know what? We should just talk about the AI stuff because that's funny.
Okay, let's go to
So,
AI. Let's go to
okay,
AI.
um, and we'll come back to Wile E. Coyote because that is
Yes.
fascinating. Just so you know, they had a Wile E. Coyote movie, Coyote versus Acme, and they just shit canned it for tax purposes. We'll get into that in a minute. This is interesting because now if you're on YouTube, which you are,
Right now.
and you're a creator and you use AI and don't disclose it, boom, you're out of here. I don't even know if they're giving people strikes. It just said you could, have your video removed or be suspended,
Right.
which is just nuts because they didn't really go into like how to disclose it, how much do you have to disclose, if it's just a part of your video. Like there's a lot of fine-tuned details that probably need to be worked out. And YouTube is notorious for like not just having very vague general guidelines. Um, and the weird thing is does it only apply to or does it apply to imagery and audio, just audio, just
So,
animation?
so here's my thought. I think that they're trying to cover their ass from litigation from other people. So the biggest thing would be, the most obvious and visible thing would be, using deep fakes of, let's say, a political figure, putting out a video, making it look exactly how that person would have it, and then saying something controversial, or maybe even illegal, or just catastrophic for the world economy or whatever. YouTube wants to make sure that they don't have any liability against it. First and foremost, face and voice. Then, secondly, I imagine that they want to stop or try and arrest people from saying that they came up with certain imagery, certain art that isn't theirs, whether it's audio or visual. And then lastly, just the sound. Um, Catching somebody on a hot mic once again, or saying, I created this thing. Let's say you took something from AI and it's this big landscape picture, but you just zoomed into this. Maybe somebody can't find that from AI. I don't know. I honestly don't know enough about how uh, certain imagery algorithms, or even quantitative, like motion picture type of things would happen for AI. But I really just think it's YouTube trying to cover their ass and maybe kind of push down more creativity from people, as they have figured out to do in the past 20 years.
Yeah, I think you're right. And it's fascinating because right now on YouTube there are some great AI creators. There's
Yeah.
this one called Dope Funk, DOP, no E on it, Dope Funk. He's a German artist who does all new Tupac songs, and
Hmm.
it's insane. And I actually just I've made a playlist and just listened to them. And it's like Tupac came out with new music. You can tell it's AI because there are certain pronunciations and certain
Yeah.
lyrics that are very like, oh, that's a stretch. Tupac would have never went there. But it's
Or you can hear the original recording in the background. I heard, so many people may know that Chris Cornell actually covered some pretty amazing songs. He covered Sinead O'Connor.
yeah.
He covered, I think he covered an old Pearl Jam song, but a lot of people were doing it kind of at the same time that he was. But since he died, and since other people have died, many YouTube channels, and I'm sure Spotify, or people putting stuff on Reddit with SoundCloud, whatever it is, have found ways to say, what if Jimi Hendrix sang Baby Got Back? Whatever. You can actually hear the voice that sounds like Jimmy, but just underneath that. Sometimes the latency grabs it to where you can actually hear, let's say, Sir Mix-a-Lot actually singing it in the background because it's not perfect yet. Like,
Well, but these, remember, real quick, these are
yeah,
all originals. This guy, I'm telling you, you got to check out this guy.
this guy, yeah.
But he fully discloses. He says like all my stuff is work with I forget what programs, but he's like very open, like, hey, I do all this with AI, machine learning. This is, just because I'm a fan or whatever. And it's crazy. But
Yeah,
there are people, and again, it's such a weird. So remember, we're in the infancy of it. It's just like if
right,
you go and look at an iPhone 1, you'll be like, I can't believe people use that. How did
right,
you had the internet on that? you know?
right.
And we're what? I don't even know how many years. We're just like just over a decade away from the iPhone 1, give or take,
I
right?
don't know. No,
Yeah.
that can't be right.
Yeah, because it couldn't be past like what, 2006?
Yeah, it's 2023, buddy.
Yeah, so just over a decade, right? I'm bad at math. A decade and a
You
half?
are bad at math. I will
Seven,
give you that.
almost 2 decades then. Okay, so let's say almost 2 decades. So
Let let's just say 2 decades.
okay,
I mean, 2023 to 2003, a smartphone did not really exist.
no,
2006 was the first smartphone in any capacity, in any way you could call it a smartphone. 2006. So I can't remember when the first iPhone came out. Like I'm old, but
I want
I'm
to say, well, so it only sticks out in my mind because when it did, my boss at the time offered to pay me to stand in line at the Apple store to get it. I was working on the radio, and I was like, "You pay me to stand in line? Piss off!" I was like, "I'm not doing that." Which,
so 2008, 2009, let's say.
yeah, so I
It
think it
has
might have
to
been
be around there
2008.
somewhere. Okay.
Um, but at the time, it was groundbreaking, right? Like I didn't have an
Yeah.
iPhone until much, much later, maybe 10 years after that. So we're really not far removed from the first one. People still probably have like a 5 or 6, I would imagine, still kicking. And take that into account for AI. AI is not accessible for everyone, with
Nope.
these things that we're talking about. And I wouldn't even say 2 decades. I would say in 5 years, that technology is going to be, an app on your phone where I can make a Mr. Beast video where it looks like we're crushing a Ferrari with you know, one of those giant presses, or I could make it look like I built 100 wells in Africa. I could it would be like one of those jib jabs we were just.
Refer to another episode.
I can't. I don't know many.
No, us refer to a previous episode we did.
Oh, I don't know. But now the tech is so basic in its infancy, and YouTube's jumping on this, that as much as I hate to say it, I think they're very smart, because what roads, paths people are going to take with this is going to be, I don't think most people can comprehend it. I think the people that are accessing and using it now can kind of see what it's going to be, but I don't know. I showed you the channel Sassy Justice.
Yes. So good.
If you don't know what Sassy Justice is, do yourself a favor. Go look it up. It's, I believe, just at Sassy Justice. It's Trey Parker, Matt Stone, the guys from South Park, using complete deep fakes, everything, voice, faces, and they took Donald Trump's face and put him on a sassy looking dude. Fred Sassy, that's his name,
Fred
and
Sassy.
he works for Cheyenne's investigative reporting news
Channel 8
department.
News or Channel 9 News. Channel 9 News in Cheyenne.
And he interviews, what is it? Jared
Jared
Kushner,
Kushner. Yeah.
Al Gore,
Oh my gosh. The Al Gore one is so funny because, again, Sassy News or Sassy.
Sassy
Uh,
Justice. Sassy
Sassy Justice. He
Justice.
interviews Al Gore, and if you know anything about South Park or Trey Parker, he loves getting on Al Gore about being very serial. I'm
It's very
super
surreal.
serial, you guys. Man, bear, pig. Don't forget about Man Bear Pig. He's half man, half bear, and half pig. Super serial, you guys. Anyway, he does that, and it's for as short as the videos are, it's quintessential South Park in a different form that I think works pretty well.
If that was not a full series with like season one, two, three, would you not be addicted to it? It's so
Oh,
brilliant.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's better. It works better than well. And the freakish thing is like when you first, if you go and put on episode one, it
Oh,
takes
right.
your brain a little bit. You're like, wait,
Is
is
that
Donald?
really?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're like, wait, because when I first watched it, until I like heard the cadence of, the South Park guys, I was like, what is kind of going on? Like, is this really Donald? Is he fucking with us? What is
yeah.
happening? And then you get into the episode, you realize it's just complete parody satire. But think about the people who don't mean well using that technology and how terrifying it could be with
Right.
for certain people.
Well, and I mean, as I don't want to get into this, but as intellectually devoid of honesty a lot of people are, and I'm not going to say on both sides. I am so tired of hearing both sides, like, oh, they're both bad. No, only one of them wants a dictator, period. The
Hmm.
only one of them wants a military uh overtaking of this country. So um in the wrong hands, let's just say the GOP, in the wrong hands,
Yes.
or what's that new political party, no labels. You've heard about no labels? Oh, come
Please
on.
explain.
Some more news did this. Cody went off on it. Anyway, no labels party is basically a super PAC funded, mainly conservative funded, um, uh, party that is a third party that is trying to say, hey, we have bipartisan, we have a Joe Manchin, and then we have, it's not going to be anybody on the left. I promise you. It's like we have Mitt Romney and we have Joe Manchin. And I'm like, both of those people are Republicans. Like saying Joe Manchin is a Democrat is silly. And
Is this
anyway,
the Koch brothers funded thing?
I honestly don't know. I mean, let's be real. They fund everything on the right.
Everything. Everything is brought to you
So,
by the
it,
Koch
but
brothers.
not in the same way that the right will say that George Soros funds
So
everything. George Soros doesn't fund everything. He has a lot of money, but he doesn't even have Koch brothers money. Let's be real. Let's
yeah.
be like clear about that. But anyway,
Oh, and by the way,
no,
it's time to do our ad. This episode is brought to you by George Soros. Thank you, God
thank you,
Soros.
George. Praise be, Miss.
Thank you, Messiah,
Praise
Messiah
be,
Soros.
Lord Soros.
How do they do it in what's the Scientology one where they're like, what I forget what they do. They do.
Don't do whatever you're about to do. That was
Don't they
so
do
close.
some? No, don't
I'm
they
not
do
even
some
gonna.
salute?
I'm doing it under the thing.
But the Scientologists, they have like that weird sailor hat, and they do some kind of. They do. I'm telling you, look
I
it
don't
up.
know what you're talking
Do
about,
your
but
own
it sounds
research.
amazing.
They do some kind of like praise be to what's his name? Adolis Huxley? No. Ron Hubbard. They're like
Yes, L. Ron Hubbard. But
praise be
did
to
you say Adolis Huxley? Did you butcher that name terribly?
I was trying to think of L. Ron Hubbard and I couldn't even I saw uh
Xenu, isn't Xenu the main dude in Scientology? We need to do a whole episode on
yeah.
Scientology
Okay.
just to, yeah, we'll move on. We'll move on. Wait, okay, so let's not finish AI. We're almost done with AI, but
Yeah.
AI is almost done. Starbucks, what was the other thing? We didn't even talk about the movie. The Looney.
Yeah.
Oh
We'll
wait,
go.
we kind of talked about it, but
So AI though, let's wrap this up because
yes.
AI is if you're an AI creator, let's say, you got to be real careful right now. And you know what the spooky thing is on Video Leap, the editing app that I use for all my videos.
Okay.
Um, they a few months ago integrated an AI feature. So now, and it was free. Like I pay for the app
Yeah.
on a yearly subscription, and there was no like, hey, do you want to unlock AI? It was just like, hey, we're giving you AI tools right in the app. So now you can generate any image in any genre of AI. They give you all these like realistic,
That's
um,
cool.
postmodern, like all these different genres. But you can type in whatever. You could type in Fred Sassy, Donald Trump, Trey Parker, Matt Stone riding a unicorn in Oz. Like you can go as
No,
in
I want.
detail.
Here's my idea. Ready? The Flintstones.
Mhm.
All of the characters of Flintstones acting out the entire movie of Reservoir Dogs.
I would see that's something that I could see like had maybe happened at one point. Because have you ever seen the Flintstones commercials where they're smoking butts? They're ripping
Oh,
butts.
that was in the 50s, man.
I'm
Yeah.
like, that's like kind of on par. If the Flintstones are still around, they probably would have done an episode of Reservoir Dogs.
Winston Salem's, they do the job, eh, Bon?
And they're both like ripping butts in the back where the wives are calling. It's insane. It's so crazy. So that's a good idea. But this is integrated. I have this tool readily available at any time, and it kind of spooks me at what the capabilities of this tool, this potential weapon are. So I don't know. I'm glad I don't really use it, but it's scary to think that
Use it
will
until you can't use it anymore.
YouTube says if I don't disclose it, which what does
Didn't they
this?
say by a date?
I'd have to look up the story, and I don't want to. I'm
I mean,
guessing
why do any work, right?
right now. It's now. Um, I would just imagine that like when they announce this stuff, it's henceforth, by
Okay.
decree order of King YouTube, it is now henceforth this is law. It's very medieval on this platform where once they say it, it's just what it is. And it's weird
Mm.
because where do you disclose it? Is it like giving like a copyright to or the disclaimer for copywritten music? Because that they
Smarter people than us are going to figure this out, and then we're going to be up and running one way or the other. There's
yeah.
going to be loophole after loophole after loophole. They're all going to be exploited, and then we'll have nothing to do
With
with
the
that. But I was going to say during and now I'm just taking you back to history and movies again. But during the Breen era of movie making, which is in the 40s, there were certain things you could do and couldn't do. And some film critics agreed that some of the best movies that ever came out during the 40s because there were only so many things they can do. Even Hitchcock with Psycho, um, he couldn't do certain things. For example, you never see a knife actually penetrate. You never see any nudity. You never see any. It was all implied, which made it so much better for suspense. Some of the best TV shows you've seen, some of the best movies you've seen. Look at Blair Witch Project. They didn't have any money. They had only a few cameras and only a few mics. They only had so much dialogue they could share between each other. And that was a phenomenon that uh,
I
just
hate
kind of showed the creativity some people can have. So I think the more we are limited sometimes, the more creativity we can have. So if this does nothing, if they say you can't use AI, or they say if you tell us, or you have to tell us if you're going to do it, you use it the way that you can, in the most creative way you can. You put in the work, and maybe you're the best next AI YouTube creator the world has ever known. Mr.
yeah.
Beast has, what he does. I mean, think of another great YouTube channel. I don't know.
I don't think there are
Cinema
any.
Sims. No, come on. I mean, there are many,
Sassy
many, many.
Justice?
Sassy Justice. Or who's that girl? All she does is look at videos. She's
I pray
I
to
want to
God you
say
don't say. Oh,
Sniper XX.
nope. We won't say that name on this channel. I
Okay,
despise.
all I was gonna whatever. I don't know anything about it other than she had like 200 million subscribers, whatever the ridiculous amount was. My
She's a
point
bad
is,
bully. If you watch, do you watch Nerd City
no. Oh wait,
on
yeah, I do.
YouTube?
What am I saying?
Okay.
Yes, yes, I do.
Nerd City just did a interview with, oh, I forget her name. This YouTuber who basically Sniper Wolf stole her identity.
Sniper Wolf. That's who it
Yeah.
was.
And that girl is just bad news. She's a YouTube bully. You know, the worst kind of person that could be on this platform.
I'm not trying to promote her or whatever. All I was saying is some people find their niche. Some people are good at um I mean there are the greatest thing about YouTube is you can be old, you can be young, you can be white,
But
you can be
mostly you have
black,
to be
you could be
young.
a man, you could be that's not true. I mean, there's a certain amount of credibility that comes from being older. So I think when we've talked about Bill Burr, we've talked about all these people who have a podcast. We talked about Tosh today, our boy on Tosh Show, at Tosh Show, I'm sure it
Did
is.
did
Um,
you watch any of it?
I went to that episode with his wife's gynecologist.
Yeah. I was eating. I had to shut it off. It was so gross. Um,
I
but
didn't
did
get
you?
to any gross part yet, but anyway.
Oh, well, I don't know. They just start talking about certain things. I was like, Jesus, guys, I'm eating. Um, I was like, "Fuck, I can't do this right now.
Oh, you were watching Tosh and you didn't realize that he has a habit of trying to make people gag?
Yeah. Well, what really made me gag was when he mentioned that iHeartMedia came and like wanted to throw money at him to do this, and that's why this exists.
No, no, no. Then you heard it wrong because what he said was Comedy Central paid me a lot of money to leave and I took it. That's what he said.
No, and then he said iHeartRadio came to me and said, "Will you do a podcast?"
Yeah. And he said, but I won't do this. And I'm not going to interview celebrities. I'm not going to interview
Yeah.
comedians. I'm not going to do the internet stuff. I'm going to, if you know what? If you let me interview my wife's gynecologist, I'll do it. And they were like, done. And he was like, okay. I mean, he says it in that first episode. But
It's
Tosh could
horrible.
do anything. He could do the fact that one company decided, oh, we're going to give you a lot of money. I'm more than fine with that. I don't care where he wants to go. If he wanted to go anywhere, Brian Regan wanted to go anywhere, Dave Attell wanted to go anywhere, I would, I mean, I got a
Little
little lost on that
disappointed.
Apple Plus with Jon Stewart. I still like the problem with Jon Stewart. We'll see if it lasts.
Yeah, it's been going for what, 2 seasons?
I think maybe 3, but
Yeah.
the
I don't
interviews
think
are
John
great, but there's
he
so much behind the I don't want to say paywall, but unless you have Apple Plus, you see snippets of really good interviews in a typical Jon Stewart style with really big names that you would think, how did he get this interview? Whether it was like Sheriff Joe Arpaio or um, I'm trying to think of the former Betsy DeVos or somebody. I can't
yeah.
remember. Anyway, he gets really good interviews and really challenges people on stuff, which is so funny after all these years that people like Tucker Carlson would give him so much crap for so long saying, you had Obama and you asked him how he's doing. You have a responsibility. And he's like, I'm a stand up comedian. You're a news person. You ask him hard questions. I'll ask whatever questions I want because I'm a fucking comedian. What am I at my most? I'm Mark Twain. Where are you at your most? You're Walter Cronkite. That would never happen, but you get my point. Anyway,
Yeah.
moving along.
Um so this Acme story, let's go into that before the 4-day work week. Just real
Was that
quick.
what it was called, by the way? Acme?
Yeah, I
The
believe
movie.
the I can double check, but the movie was called Coyote v Acme. And
Oh,
what
that's what it was.
sucks
Okay.
about this, oh, are you kidding me?
It's not
I
that big of a deal.
I closed it out of my thing. The amazing thing was is they said so this movie was finished, by the way.
Right.
Done. In the can, ready to go to theaters. I don't know if they were gonna.
Starring
Oh, who was Coyote?
John Cena.
Really?
Oh, I thought it was John Cena. Was it not John Cena?
No, it probably was, but he's just doing everything. Just
He
be
is
free,
doing
man.
everything. Actually, you should watch a recent movie. I sure wish I could remember right now. My buddy Danny Chan is an executive producer of one of his latest movies that he just came out. My buddy Danny Chan's an executive producer for Almost Never Films. They produced Barbarian. That was amazing. One of my like new favorite horror movies ever. Loved it. But anyway, he had this recent thing with John Cena. Yeah. Anyway.
Well, and listen, John Cena's from Massachusetts. I heard he's great.
Oh, Freelance. That's the name of the movie. Thank you,
That's the name of the
Sarah.
movie. Oh, cool.
Yes.
I have to check it out. And listen, John Cena seems super nice, but it's just exhausting that they keep reusing these people for every voice. Like it's so much to the point where my kids are like, "Hey, isn't that Ferdinand the Bull?" Or "Hey,
Is
isn't that
they do the
Sully
same
from
thing with Chris Pratt. They did the same thing with Chris Pratt. They did the
Chris
same
Pratt
thing
is
with
Garfield. Did you see the new Garfield trailer?
no.
There's a new
But if
Garfield.
if Bill Murray can't pull it off, there's no way Chris Pratt can pull it off, in
Yo,
my
it is
opinion.
it is exhausting to see the big Mario movie come out where you're like, okay, decent job, whatever. And now this new Garfield movie, and you're like, okay, it's Mario, great. My kid's gonna be bringing that up the whole time. They're gonna be like, isn't that Mario? Like, find some new talent.
When people are hot, they just want to use them. Whether it's John Cena or The Rock or Channing Tatum was a big person forever
But
and a day.
these people are not voice actors. Voice acting is an art form. Look at the guy who played Baloo and Little John from Robin Hood. I forget his name, but God bless him. He was an amazing voice actor. Okay,
That is true. That is a
that
different episode altogether because I could do an entire episode just
okay.
on Robin Hood from 1967 or 71 or
72,
whatever.
72.
72, 72. I was
Well,
close.
no, 73. My daughter corrected me on that the other day because this is the 50th anniversary of Robin Hood this year. It was just the other day. It might be November 7th, 1973. Because on Disney Plus, they have a big, 50th anniversary for Robin Hood. And me and the kids just watched it the other day. It's my favorite movie growing up. And they're always
It
like,
was
why
my
is it
favorite movie growing up too. That
really?
and well, a few others, but that I watched that like all the time. I could tell you every scene. I could probably tell you like quote entire scenes back to back. Like Maid Marian was just like I don't know. The whole thing was so great. The guy who played Little John was like amazing. The guy who played the sheriff of Nottingham was great. The guy who played King, the brother,
Prince
not King,
John or King Richard?
Prince John. Yeah,
Yeah,
Prince John.
yeah.
Yeah, he
Prince
was
John's
great.
fantastic. Fantastic. But all those were voice actors. I know some of them were real actors. The guy who played Robin Hood was, you know, a studied actor or whatever from Britain. But there was like, look, you mentioned Mel Brooks earlier. Like there
Yeah.
were true voice actors, and this might even be a different episode.
No, this
It's
has to be a different episode because voice. I mean, I want to give you like all your level for give you as much allowance as you want for your own opinion. Voice acting is an art form, and some people just happen to get certain roles and others don't. But there are people like, I mean, if you go into any of the cartoons, and I'm talking like Looney Tunes, you can go back to Looney Tunes or Tiny Toons or Animaniacs or Pinky and the Brain or Ren and Stimpy. There are people who have been doing voice acting for 20, 30, 40, 50 years sometimes. I mean, look at The Simpsons. All of those people are fantastic. A lot of these animation things. I mean, it's why Seth MacFarlane. We got to do an entire episode. I could
yeah.
talk about this all day.
And there's a guy, Greg Sipes, who's on Twitter. He plays
Greg Sipes
Beast
good.
Boy
Yeah,
on Teen.
he's amazing. He's great.
Teen. He's
Teen
amazing,
Teen Titans.
and he does multiple different shows. But again, he has this way to. He's like a chameleon. He can make these different voices, and it truly makes the art form stand out. Whereas Chris Pratt is not a
I don't want to
voice.
hear it. No, no, no. We're gonna discuss another time.
Okay,
But you
okay,
said that, so I just have to say one more person. Bobby Moynihan came out of SNL. Bobby
yeah.
Moynihan was on a show called We Bare Bears. I don't even know if they
Oh
still
yeah,
do it
yeah.
or whatever,
My
but
son loves it. Yep.
his voice is so like It was so perfect. He was so perfect just to be made for it. If people want to hear Chris Pratt's voice, let them hear Chris Pratt's voice. Now, eventually, people will reject that person one way or the other. They'll reject a voice and say, we don't really like that
They
voice
tried to with
anymore.
Mario. They tried to reject it with Mario. We don't have a
Well,
choice.
and Lego
You make this.
Movie, and that's another one. Will Arnett. Will Arnett played the Batman Lego character.
And
Um,
he's every Reese's peanut butter cup commercial. Jesus, Lord help me during the month of October with
but
that
remember
great
when
guy's voice.
Sam Neill was
Kinison?
every
No.
Chevy truck commercial?
Oh
Out
yeah.
here on the range, like a rock. You got to get that flag, and you got to get that eagle, and you got to get that shovel, and aim for gold, my friend. Chevy. It's what dreams are made of. Or whatever he was
It
doing.
really shows you like who's willing to sell their soul for what. You know? That's at least what I think when I hear
Who's
like,
selling their soul? What are you talking about? Are you saying Sam Neill sold his soul for Chevy?
yeah, why do you think they killed him
You
off in
are a hate. You
Hollywood?
know what? I'm almost done with you. You are such a hater. You are such a hater. Be happy for people, for God's sakes, man.
Sam Neill, does he really believe in the product? That's what I'd like to know. Does he drive a Chevy? Because if he's pulling up in some Ford F-150, I'd be like, hey, he sold your soul. Um, there were I forget what commercials. You hear like Matt Damon, you can identify all these voices, and you're like,
Yeah,
you don't need the money. What am I happy for you? You're selling your soul to just buy a fourth house. It's just
I'm going to say the
infuriating.
same thing I've said to you almost every single time, and you're going to get it eventually. Maybe by episode 900 of this, you're going to get this point. You would do it too.
That's not true.
Rob,
I was on
Rob, Rob
radio.
from Boston,
Listen, this is where I can tell
confidently
you
say nothing.
no, because early in my career, guess what? I sold my soul for everything. I would do everything and anything under the sun. I just needed money.
We talked
And
about
later
this, yeah.
on, I went, nah, there's certain things I'm just not gonna do ads for. And I made it very clear, and I would not. And I kind of think about that when I hear these podcasts. Like I was listening to a Michael Moore podcast earlier, or a YouTube podcast. He posts on YouTube, and he was interviewing some of the first Starbucks baristas to unionize in Buffalo.
Hmm.
And then he goes into his intro and everything, and it's a very um, template form. Like, here's what we're going to talk about: stamps.com and buy your underwear here and all that crap. And then they go into the interview. And
Mm-hmm.
instead of skipping over, I was like, it's so fascinating to hear Michael Moore tell me about stamps.com. Because I'm like, this guy needs the money. Nobody's, big movie industry ain't funding that guy. But I can't help but think, like, God, these people that you think of as Hollywood upper echelons or whatever.
We can go back to the Nicole Kidman in the AMC theater thing. Do you
Oh,
think she
God,
sold her soul?
100%. You don't? You
But
watch that commercial, you
why?
told me.
Like, she did it to be nice, for crying out loud. You're
Really?
right. She doesn't
The
need the
check,
money.
no, the check on that said amount, nice, kindness. She didn't do it to be nice. She did it
I
because
didn't say
AMC
that.
was like,
Well, I
yeah, you
mean,
did.
no, no, no. I
It's okay.
really meant.
I get it. There's
Do
some
you think
people.
if they gave her $100,000 to do that, let's just say that she got $100,000 to do that, that would be like a check where anybody in their right mind who doesn't have billions of dollars, which she does not, I think educatedly assuming she doesn't have
No, she
billions
has
of dollars.
millions. You act like billions you need to survive nowadays. No, you can have a few million and be very well off, and she has more than a few million. She was
Rob,
married to
if you
Tom
had
Cruise.
$10,000 in the bank and
Yeah.
somebody offered you $100 to do something that you didn't have an intellectual problem with, they said, "Hey, Rob, just give us a 30-second spot on the radio for stamps.com, whatever." If
No,
you had
if it was no, no,
$10,000
no,
in the bank,
no. We're gonna compare apples to apples because this bitch ain't working at
I'm
the post
trying to.
office.
I'm
No,
trying
because you're
to.
not. You're not. Let me give you the scenario. It would be like, hey Rob, you have 10,000 in the bank. We're gonna give you $100 to do a commercial on the radio about how it's great to listen to the radio. And you're on the radio, by the way. She's doing a commercial to tell people how great it is to come back to the movies to see movies that, oh, she happens to be in while she's getting paid to tell people to come and see her get paid. This is like the fucking Matrix, okay?
No,
This is
I get that element being meta, but at the same time,
it's not like this bitch Nicole Kidman don't go to AMC. I'm sorry. Unless she's at a premiere, she's never been to AMC. And if you're trying to tell me that that whole thing is genuine where she's like eating popcorn in a fucking
I didn't say
uh,
that.
Hermes dress and like wearing Gucci at the theater, I'm like, what
Did you say
fucking
Hermes?
AMC is this? Yeah.
You I don't know if it's we are blue collar because I'm sure I said Hermes at some point, but I don't know.
How
Anyway,
do you say that? This is why we're
what?
not rich. Hermes? 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 I don't know. Is it after one of those gods? Wasn't Hermes
No,
a
it's
god?
Hermes Conrad from Futurama. I'm not gonna do the voice. Okay, I'll do it a little. No, just kidding.
Do it a little. Uh, so, anyways, I think we got off the coyote thing again. This movie looked fantastic, and my point was is that um, they test
Hermes. I'm sorry. My wife is telling us Hermes.
Hermes. Really? You don't
But I
pronounce
say
it?
Target and I'm an
See,
asshole, so
listen,
whatever.
you are if you say that. By the way, um, I want to be that rich where you can put a letter in a word and just fucking not pronounce it. That's when you're too rich. When you get to add an A, just spell it with an E to begin. And why is there an S at the end? You got double letters in there, double consonants that are not being pronounced. I'm
Rob,
going to lose
I
my
don't
mind.
Rob, do you know what other languages exist? Did you
This
know
is,
that?
oh, is it not an English word?
I don't think it is.
I couldn't tell you. I don't know anything about it. I heard about it earlier today. I forget what I was watching, and they mentioned it. And I was like, that is a fascinating thing.
No, but
But
like you sound almost like somebody who's like I say Porsche and somebody's like actually it's Porsche or Porsche. And I'm like, "Oh,
I
I
hate
know
both
that."
people.
And they're like, "Other languages exist, you know." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, I get it. All right, whatever."
No, they don't. Um, languages aren't real, just like money isn't.
And
Um,
birds aren't real.
but
And
they
it's
they took
flat
that.
earth.
The frustrating thing is they took this Coyote Acme movie to screenings. It was done, and it was getting a 90% review from people who had seen it. That was originally who was lobbying to get whatever small fraction of the audience that had witnessed this was like, you're gonna just shit can it now. And what'd you say? A guy in Texas, I forget, Joaquin something.
Yes,
Joaquin.
Joaquin Castro.
Okay, Joaquin Castro, not Joaquin Phoenix. Sorry. Um,
If
if
only. If only.
only. That dude is nuts.
We got 2 minutes, by the way. I'm calling it a 2 minutes.
Okay.
So wrap this shit up.
Oh yeah. So, but they canned it, and they did this with Batgirl, a $90 million movie. They did
Yep.
it with Scoob, the holiday movie, and
I love
WB is
Scooby movies. Anyway.
oh, the new ones were good. The animated new ones, my son loved the first one. Really looking
Mm.
forward to a holiday one. They canned it all for tax reasons. Um, so let's just skip over like the nitty gritty about that and how these corporations. What it really sucks. What really boils down to is like they're doing this and these big mergers. I forget it was WB and something else. And these big mergers are eliminating any kind of not just
Competition?
competition, well, not just that, because it's like really how do you succeed when like the Kevin Smith, these small creators, which yes,
Mm.
there's YouTube, there's these mediums, but to truly um have you know everything's being remade right now, right? So like to give new life to a Scooby, or I'm trying to think of something like the Adams Family kind of came back, or like these lesser
Mm.
known or not cult. Again, I can't find the right word for it, but just these smaller, not big blockbuster hit brands.
Yeah.
And to give life to those, it would have to be from like it couldn't be an independent creator getting the rights to these things. And I think WB like owns the rights to a lot of this. So if they just want to kill these smaller brands, they can. And they're just doing it for tax write-off reasons. So they're essentially murdering these well beloved, brands, all in the sake of saving some money.
But in all fairness, I mean, Acme slash Coyote, whatever, they own, I mean, that's intellectual property or property. It's their property. So if they want to, shit can that movie, fine. If they want to shit can Batgirl because they own it, fine. What I don't like is U.S. code, tax code 181 that says up to $15 million, they can get a tax write off for it on a completed movie. When people had contracts, ostensibly had contracts for revenue stream coming in afterwards. But I don't know. I'm sure they know
But
what
wait,
they're
hold
doing.
on, because you say fine, but I just want to walk you five years down the future, maybe 10. Okay,
Okay.
this merger happened. WB and whoever was it, Time Warner or whatever the big merger was they mentioned in the story.
Okay.
Now let's say, WB and Disney decide to merge, which wouldn't be
Okay.
crazy. Disney, what, sucked up like ESPN, Hulu, Nat Geo. So
And
let's
Warner
say,
Brother owns the rest. So yeah.
yeah. So let's say now the Marvel and DC universes get bought out because Disney has become so big that they just say, we're going to own every copywritten form of entertainment under the sun. And you're a fan of Scooby Doo. Okay.
Mhm.
And they just say, we're just never going to, or we're going to make these movies, test them out, and then can them just to get the tax write-off. And they can do it because what is an independent creator going to come up, try to get the rights to make some kind of movie to see if it can succeed? This is the dangerous road that in years from now, if these mergers keep happening, or even if they don't happen, and these companies just decide at their own whim that, like, this is worth more to us, being burned in a pile out back so we can, get 15 million or whatever we can recoup off the taxes to bring our, general our yearly income down. That's fucking nuts.
I agree that it shouldn't happen in the way that it does, but what I'll take issue with you saying is just for the tax write off. That doesn't make any sense. It's not just for the tax write off, as far as I understand it. Now, do I think that should be changed? Yes, but that is a huge fundamental thing, an entire tax code chapter being adjusted somehow. Again, I don't know enough about that to say how that would happen, short of a continuing resolution starting in the House and going to the Senate and the president signing all of that. But I'm just a bill. But anyway,
Ah,
um, but
that should be a movie.
what this should do, again, just like the AI thing, and it
Hmm.
will encourage people to be as creative as possible, and people like who
This
own their own. Wait, who
no.
own their own movie companies or film production or television production companies will get that much more creative. And the next, I don't know what a Netflix type of thing, streaming service bigger than Hulu or Netflix or anybody else will come along one day that has something truly unique and new, and it'll just be competition. Where I agree, the mergers need to stop happening is that they will own too much intellectual property and they'll be too powerful so that all of their lawyers say, no, you small company, your thing is too much like our thing. I mean, call it the Simpsons Family Guy fighting back and forth. I mean, they sued each other 100 times, but so did the Flintstones and the Simpsons, or the people who owned Hanna Barbera, and like it goes down by generation. Something new will come along. The system will not eat itself alive, whatever that snake eating its own tail is. Um, it'll be okay, Robbie.
You are delusional. You just said this is going to inspire more creativity. I just want to
I said I hope it does.
okay, you hope.
I
Think about
imagine
the
it
people
will. I
think
imagine it will.
think about the people who just put their life's work, okay? There's got to be some new people on this Coyote film. They put their life's work into it, and the reviews were coming back. Imagine this: the reviews are coming back. Wow, it's getting 90s. You're getting in the 90 percentile of approval. This thing's going to be a smash blockbuster. People are loving it. We've never seen this high screening rate, and the company just comes along and goes, nope, we're destroying the film. We're getting rid of it. We're not even going to shop it around. They're being forced to now. They're actually forced to shop it around because of this politician out of Texas. But imagine that if it didn't get shopped around and just got trashed. You think someone's coming out of that? Maybe there's a few. Maybe the Michael Jordans of animation will come out and be like, I got to do better. But you don't get much better than 90%. You know what I mean? It's like this was not like, oh, looked like it was going to be a flop. It had the whisperings of a Batgirl to it. This was like, no, no, no. This is going to be big. You guys did a great job, and they're just like, nah, kill it for
Okay,
cash
okay.
flow
Hear
purposes.
me out on two last things, and then I'm done. Whatever we're doing, we'll hit this next Thursday. Next Thursday, 6 p.m. Subscribe to Another One, ANOTHAON3, and
Yeah,
at
a
Ample Thought.
delusional one. That's what I'm gonna go see if that's open on YouTube. Put you on there, delusional. Oh, I
Okay,
hope it will make creativity. If I just put my life's work into that and they shit can that, I would quit. I'd quit the industry and I would be
Robbie.
like, I'm gonna burn
Two
down WB,
things.
that
Two
water
things.
tower.
One,
Yeah,
who is the biggest newspaper in 1960? Take a guess.
the JFK Times.
Sure, let's say it was the JFK Times.
Okay,
Who is the biggest news outlet right now? The biggest.
I want to say Fox. Are they?
Fox is correct.
Yeah.
Fox is correct. Now,
Okay.
the people who owned the New York Times or whatever the hell you just said, they could not anticipate thinking that a Fox News conglomerate would exist in the future. But it wasn't that Fox News smashed them down forever. It was just that they had something new and they adapted with the times, and they'll eventually fail. And so will MSNBC and CNN and C-SPAN and everybody else, ABC, CBS, TNT, TBS, whatever. We will have a totally different thing in 50 years. So that's one point.
Yeah, and it's all
The
gonna
other,
be one studio. It's gonna be the same
it may
movie,
be one
voiced, and
studio.
it's all gonna be voiced by Chris Pratt at the age of 90, and it's gonna suck. I hate your future.
It's not just mine, buddy. It's yours too. So anyway,
No, I'm going down. I'm taking
oh
the
wait,
red
we're
pill.
not doing next Thursday because next Thursday is Thanksgiving. So happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
It's next Thursday's Thanksgiving. I think we got
Yeah, man.
another week. For real?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Huh. I'm
2030.
I don't do Thanksgiving, so
Oh,
I'll do a live stream by myself where I just talk about how delusional my co-host is and how he's rooting for a one studio future with where they just make the movies and then can them. So like, did you
I'm
really
canning
love
you right now. You have 30 seconds to apologize, or I'm hanging up and see
never,
what happens. I
never?
won't even come back. You know what? Now I'm not coming back next Thursday. I
Oh
got
no,
something to
don't do
do
that.
next Thursday.
Don't do that. What do you do for Thanksgiving, real quick before we go? Do you go see family? Do you stay in town? Do you travel? You don't
Generally
need to be
stay.
specific. Don't give us
No, no,
addresses or
no. We're
anything.
staying in town. Yeah. Thanks. I
I'll
appreciate
be
you.
I'll be at.
I will be at 123 Maple Street in Springfield, Illinois.
Do
Anyway,
you don't travel though?
not usually. We usually have people over at the house, and this year we're having a special guest over, so we're really happy to have her
Oh, that's cool.
come by, and yeah, it'll be good. Uh, we like making food and hanging out and taking the day off, and I'm shutting this phone off. I'm not going to be available. I don't care. I have no one who won't be in this house who I need to hear from on Thanksgiving. No one, not a single person. So I hope everybody else can have that. I hope everybody else has a really good Thanksgiving. Robbie, I hope you have a good whatever you do if you're
My
not
wife
eating
works,
turkey.
so yeah, we don't do nothing. And the next day is my birthday. Exciting. I do nothing for that
Oh,
as my
right. We
wife
talked
works.
about this. My birthday's
Yep.
on the 20th,
I'm still shocked next week's Thanksgiving. So when's your birthday then? When's the 20th? In a few days, right?
Monday.
Oh, it's on a Monday. You can
Yeah,
still celebrate on Sunday, right?
happens every, what is it, 9 years? I did the math one time. It's like every 9 years it's on a Monday because of leap years and something else. But anyway, maybe it's
Yeah.
every 13 years. I can't remember. Anyway, yeah, everybody's got to have it on a Monday sometime.
Oh, that's cool though that it's coming up. Well,
Yeah,
happy birthday to you, my friend.
thanks. I'll be
And
32 years
listen,
old, and I'm so excited.
you're gonna be
I'm
24.
almost the age of Jesus, and
He
that's
loves Ice Spice.
wait. I'm sorry, not Jesus. Our Lord and Savior, Soros. Praise be to Soros.
This podcast was brought to you by Soros.com. Do you need Soros stamps? I still, every time I hear that stamps.com thing, I think this person is hawking stamps, and they used to be doing X, Y, and I've seen them on the TV. That's what I
Dude,
want to do. I want to get to the fame level where people recognize me and I'm selling stamps.
you got to stop wanting to be famous and to have money because that's all you want. All you want, that's all you're going to get. All you want is money, that's all you're going to get.
I'm gonna get that stamp money. Yo, that sounds like a promising future.
And remember, this episode has been brought to you by George Soros.
Hey, next week we got to, or whenever we uh talk again, we got to talk about this 4-day work week because
Yeah, bring the
it's coming.
receipts. Bring some more substantive evidence and discussion points and sources. Maybe,
I got I got a book that outlines why a 4-day work week is great, and you know who supports me? Henry Ford.
fancy.
All right. We'll see you at some point. Subscribe to the channel if you're watching this and you haven't subscribed. What's wrong with you? Thank you. And subscribe to Ample
Peace.
Thought. You're making content again.
Yes, I am.
All right. Later. I don't know how to
Okay,
shut this off.
bye.